There is something deeply human about the moment you close your eyes and imagine the life you want. The version of yourself standing a little taller, a little stronger, doing the work that matters, living with purpose. You can see it, you can feel it. It is real to you in that moment. And then the moment passes and nothing changes. That is where most people live. Not in failure, not in disaster, but in the space between the dream and the decision to actually pursue it. I want to talk to you today about that space. Not with anger, not with judgment, but with honesty. The kind of honesty that most people are afraid to offer because it is uncomfortable. And the kind you are probably afraid to hear because it asks something of you. So take a breath and listen carefully. Most people have dreams. That is not rare. That is not special. Dreams are free. They cost nothing. You can have 10 of them before breakfast and carry them into sleep at night without spending a single minute of real effort. Dreams are abundant. They are everywhere. They live in the conversations people have about what they are going to do someday. They live in the Notes app on your phone. They live in the quiet fantasies of who you believe you could be, if only the conditions were right. But conditions are never simply right, and someday almost never comes. I have watched people carry the same dream for 3 years, 5 years, a decade. The dream never changed, the talk never stopped, but the work never started. And so the dream stayed exactly where they put it, in the mind, in the imagination, in the comfortable distance between thinking about something and actually doing it. That distance has a name. It is called your life. And while you are dreaming without working, it is passing. Now I want to be clear. I am not here to tell you that dreams are worthless. They are not. Dreams are the beginning. They are the spark. Without a vision, you have no direction. Without a sense of what you want, you cannot build anything meaningful. The dream matters, but the dream is not enough. The dream is the blueprint, not the building. You cannot live in a blueprint. You cannot build a life on intention alone. At some point, and that point is always sooner than you think, you have to pick up the materials and start laying the foundation, one brick at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. Because here is the truth that most people are not ready to sit with. Dreaming creates a feeling of progress. The vision in your mind is so vivid, so complete, so alive, that it feels like you are already moving toward it. But you are not. You are standing still. And the longer you confuse the feeling of ambition with the act of execution, the further behind you fall. Think about the last time you felt genuinely inspired. Maybe you watched someone else succeed. Maybe you read something that shifted your perspective. Maybe you had a conversation that lit something up inside you. And in that moment, you felt it. You felt the drive. You made a mental commitment. You told yourself, this time is different. And then a week passed, and the feeling faded, and life continued exactly as it was. That cycle is not weakness. It is human. But if you never interrupt that cycle, if you never move from inspired feeling to disciplined action, that cycle becomes your life story. A story of potential, unrealized. A story of almost. A story of what could have been. That is not the story you want. I know it. You know it. So let us talk about what it actually takes to rewrite it. Turning a dream into reality requires something most people underestimate. Not brilliance, not luck, not the perfect opportunity. It requires something far less glamorous. It requires daily effort, consistent effort, repeated, quiet, unglamorous effort, even on the days you do not feel like it. Especially on the days you do not feel like it. Discipline is not something you feel. It is something you do. People wait to feel motivated before they start. But motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes without warning. Discipline is a resident. You build it through repetition, through showing up when the feeling is gone, through honoring the commitment you made to yourself, even when no one is watching. even when it is hard, even when progress feels invisible. And progress will feel invisible for a long time. That is the part no one warns you about. When you begin the real work of building something, the early days are quiet. There are no celebrations, no immediate results, no confirmation that what you are doing is working. There is only the work itself, and the faith that compounding effort eventually produces visible results. But here is what that quiet period is actually doing. It is separating the people who are serious from the people who are interested. The interested ones stop when the excitement fades. The serious ones keep going, not because they feel extraordinary every day, but because they understand something essential. Progress is not built in the moments of peak motivation. It is built in the ordinary moments. The Tuesday afternoons when nothing feels important. The Friday evenings when the easier choice is to rest. The mornings when the bed is warm and the discipline feels distant. Those moments are where character is formed. Those are the moments that define the gap between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. Consider two people. Both have the same dream. Both can articulate it clearly. Both feel the weight of wanting something more from their lives. The first person talks about the dream often. They share their plans. They explain their vision to anyone willing to listen. They are inspired regularly. They start things. They begin courses, projects, routines, but when the initial excitement passes, they stop. They tell themselves they will restart when the timing is better, when they feel more ready, when the circumstances shift in their favor. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass. They are still in the same place, still dreaming, still waiting. The second person says very little. They do not talk about their plans constantly. They do not need external validation to keep moving. They simply work every day. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but consistently. They show up in the small moments that no one celebrates. They make choices that do not feel significant individually, but accumulate into something undeniable over time. They do not wait for the right conditions. They work inside the conditions they have. And slowly, steadily, without announcement, they build. 1 year later, the gap between these two people is visible. 5 years later, it is staggering. The difference was not talent. It was not opportunity. It was not luck. The difference was execution. Consistent daily, unremarkable execution, repeated over time. That is the thing about discipline that people do not want to accept. It is not exciting. It does not feel heroic in the moment. Waking up early to do the work does not feel like a grand story. Choosing the uncomfortable action over the comfortable one does not feel cinematic. Repeating the same effort day after day with no immediate reward feels monotonous at times. Ordinary. Small. But small actions, repeated consistently, are not small at all. They are the architecture of everything significant that has ever been built. Every skill you admire in someone else was built this way. Every result you envy was created this way. Through daily effort, through refusing to stop, through choosing the work when the alternatives were far more appealing. You have to understand this at a deep level, not intellectually, not as a concept you agree with when you hear it, but as a truth you internalize so completely that it changes how you make decisions every single day. There is something else worth saying, and it requires you to be honest with yourself. Genuinely honest. Not the kind of honesty you perform in conversation, the kind you practice alone, in the quiet moments when no one else is listening. How often do you think about what you want? How often do you imagine the future version of yourself? How often do you revisit the dream, turn it over in your mind, feel the desire for it, and then close that feeling and return to exactly what you were doing before? If the answer is often, then you already know where the problem lives. Not in your potential, not in your circumstances, not in the absence of opportunity. The problem lives in the gap between how intensely you think about the destination and how consistently you work toward it. Imagination without action does not produce ambition. It produces frustration. The longer you hold a clear vision without moving toward it, the more painful the distance becomes. You feel the weight of your own potential. You carry it. And carrying potential without using it is one of the heaviest burdens a person can bear. The solution is not to dream less. The solution is to work more. To close the gap, not by lowering the vision, but by raising the daily standard. By deciding today that the version of you who executes is more important than the version of you who imagines. By choosing action over intention. By choosing consistency over the comfort of waiting. Execution over intention. Say those words slowly. Execution over intention. Your intentions cannot build your future. Your actions can. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a consistent effort. You do not need perfect conditions. You need enough discipline to work inside imperfect ones. You do not need to feel ready. You need to begin. And patience. You need patience. Real patience. Not the passive kind where you simply wait and hope. The active kind where you work every day and trust the process even when the results are not yet visible. Where you understand that great things take time, but that time will pass regardless of whether you use it or waste it. The years are going to pass. That is not a question. The question is what you will have built when they do. 5 years from today, you will either look back and see the results of consistent daily work, or you will look back and see the same dream, unchanged, still waiting, still suspended in the gap between intention and action. The choice is made now, not in some future moment when conditions align. Now. In the ordinary, unremarkable present. In the decision you make today about how you spend the next hour, sacrifice is part of this. And most people flinch at that word. Because sacrifice means giving something up. It means choosing the work over the distraction. The long-term result over the short-term comfort. The hour of disciplined effort over the hour of passive consumption. These are not dramatic sacrifices. But they are real ones, and they add up in both directions. Every hour spent avoiding the work is an hour not spent building the result. Every time you choose comfort over consistency, you are not simply resting, you are widening the gap. And every time you choose the work, even when it is hard, even when it is unglamorous, even when nothing about it feels rewarding in the moment, you are narrowing it. You do not need to be extraordinary to begin. You need to begin to become extraordinary. Start with the next hour, then the next day, then the week. Build the evidence that you are the kind of person who does the work, not someday, now. Because dreams without work stay dreams. That is not a threat. That is not a judgment. It is simply the way things are. And you have always had the ability to change it. Now, if this reached something in you, if something in this message shifted your perspective, I want you to do one thing. Leave a comment with 3 words. I do the work, not because it makes a statement to others, but because it makes a commitment to yourself. That the dream you are carrying deserves more than your imagination. It deserves your effort, your consistency, your discipline, your daily decision to show up. That is how dreams become real. Now go build yours.